and welcome to Youth in Sports, where every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. we feature special guests from near and far. The program is sponsored by ATI Physical Therapy, providing certified athletic trainers to more than 30 area high schools and colleges. First State Orthopedics, the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And Wilmington University, where Youth in Sports is produced by the College of Technology's students and faculty. And now, from the studio at President Jack Barcelona's Wilmington University, your hosts for Youth in Sports, ALSSM Mr. Sports Medicine 2012, Dr. Michael Axe, UD and St. Elizabeth's own Dr. Joseph Strait, and co-founder of Youth in Sports, Mr. Walter Laudine.
Good evening, welcome to Youth in Sports. I'm Walter Laudine, and tonight we have a really interesting show. Joe?
I'm Joe Strait, and we actually have some, David Arthur is here tonight, and it actually brings some of our things up that we talked about on some previous shows with sports medicine and
the Sports Commission
and how they interact and
Joe,
some opportunities there are in Delaware.
You're done.
Dr. Mike Wax at First State Orthopedics, and this is a great show. And one of the things that we're going to talk about this evening is what resources we have here in Delaware and why people want to come and participate in athletic contests and other things here in Delaware.
All right, we have David Arthur, who's the Executive Director of the Delaware Sports Commission. Now, like I said, doing this show is great because you learn something new every show. Now I'm going to learn something new. What's the Delaware Sports Commission?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Very honored to be on the show.
Well, you paid us, so you're
Right, yeah, and I'll get that check to you. It's in the mail, by the way.
Thank you.
No, the purpose of the Delaware Sports Commission is to really promote Delaware as an attractive destination for sporting events. Our charge is to
Soup
recruit.
to nuts? Little big guys?
Yeah, I mean, whatever makes sense for Delaware. We're looking for regional, national, and international events. We're looking to get people from out of state and state. We want other license plates, in the state of Delaware, and quality events that make sense for Delaware.
That Delaware can be proud of.
That Delaware can be proud of, and that Delaware can handle.
Now let's start, David. I'm really interested in this, but let's first talk about your education. Are you a local?
Local, yes. Moved to Delaware shortly before high school.
From where?
Went to the middle, from New York, actually, from Long Island.
Me too.
There you go.
Long Island, me too.
We'll have to talk maybe a little Mets baseball later. But
no, we won't.
we don't. Yeah, we should. Nobody should actually right now. Yeah, I moved here shortly before high school, which at the time I was, I came here kicking and screaming. It was probably, in hindsight, one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Me too. Same.
I love Delaware. It's really grown on me.
High school was where?
I went to Middletown, and I ended up being lucky enough to go to the University of Delaware and study sports management.
So you went sports management. Do you have a sports background?
I do. I like to say that I love sports. It's always been my passion. I like to say around T-ball, I realized I was probably peaking, and if I wanted to stay around sports, it wasn't going to be playing. So
but
since
you still
then,
wanted to stay around.
Yeah, I've always wanted to stay around sports.
This is keeping the sports thing.
Sure.
He goes from
and
playing sports to being involved.
Right. A lot of the kids want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a key to know your passion.
So
in sports.
why did you decide sport management? Why not be in the medical field like a physical trainer or all the
You screwed that up. Physical therapist, a
Athletic
personal
trainer.
trainer, athletic trainer.
Probably because I wasn't smart enough. I'm sure my parents might have been happier with that. I knew as much that I love being around sports.
Right.
I love reading about sports. I love watching sports.
Did you want to be a coach? Do you ever think about being a coach?
I coached Middletown's roller hockey team, and I love that.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I played roller hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sports junkie.
Okay,
You can put me
all right.
anywhere around sports.
So you're in the right profession. You're a sports junkie.
I'd like to think so.
So tell me what the Delaware Sports Commission does again.
Yeah, we recruit quality sporting events, regional, national, international sporting events to Delaware with the purpose of attracting out-of-state visitors.
Now, do you have the arenas? Can you use any venue?
Yeah. I mean, you can be creative. We've got some great traditional sporting events or sporting facilities up and down the state. And we've got to realize what we want to do. So in Philadelphia, they're trying to fill, 40,000 seat stadiums. We're not looking to do that here. But for youth sports, for amateur sports, we've got some great facilities. And not to mention, we're not against looking at some other sports that are out there, some non-traditional sports.
David, there's young kids out there probably watching that wonder, how did you get in this job? You said you went to University of Delaware, but
He paid us.
what schooling What schooling did you have to go through, majors-wise, and the process?
Classes did you take?
Yeah, well, I did the sports management program, which really covered the whole spectrum. I like to tell people it was, business through sports, which
Well, Wilmington University has a sports management course too.
And I've actually spoken to a couple of their classes before.
There you go.
So
okay.
I'm fully aware. But I think all sport management students realize this, and listen up. If not, you got to get experience. I was lucky enough. I worked for the Blue Rocks throughout high school and college. Any opportunity to work for University of Delaware Athletics or take on another role. I've done everything from selling baseball camps from Aberdeen to people in Oregon for Cal Ripken to working for the Blue Rocks, dressing up like all kinds of mascots. I've really tried to be around the sport and get as much experience as I can. And I think any sport management student needs to do that so that they know what they like, but also what they don't like.
Well, to break it down, you're basically a sports agent, but you're an agent for Delaware.
I'm selling Delaware.
Okay.
He's a facility agent.
So now, how does this job come up? And how did you find out about a job like this?
It's actually a great story. I was the director of marketing for the Blue Rocks at the time. I worked for the Blue Rocks for a number of years.
You're selling the Blue Rocks.
Selling
putting them in the paper.
Right.
He sold us a bunch of bags that we use in our office combined with the Blue Rocks.
When you work in minor league baseball, anybody that knows minor league baseball knows you do a little bit of everything. You're the tarp crew, you're the mascot, you're a little bit of everything. So I loved my time there. I happened to get an email from the State of Delaware Tourism Office and thought, hey, I should be telling them about all the great things we've got going on at the Blue Rocks this year. And set up a meeting, ended up talking with the director of tourism, and turns out this job was available. And, long story short, it was a dream for me who wanted to be in Delaware and wanted to be in sports. So now I'm selling Delaware as a sports destination, and it's something that I really believe in and really enjoy doing. So.
Well, to be a actual sports agent for Delaware, or to be a sports agent, what would you say are the three basic qualities you'd have to have?
You got to know the state. Some might say it's a small state, but there's a lot to this state.
Yeah, and all downstate and all.
Yeah, you got to
down.
know that whole dynamic, the whole, And
it is a dynamic. If you're from New York, you're like, what are you talking about? It's a small state. What are you, downstate?
It sure
but it's
is.
True. It's true.
Yeah, you have to know the state.
Computer literate?
I'd like to think so, yes.
But you have to be.
You have to be. You have to be.
And also in any job today, take those computer courses because you need them, even if you're going to be a doctor.
But he also has to be financially savvy.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get into that. But you also have to have a personality, which you seem to. You have to be outgoing because you're selling not only the state, but first yourself.
Sales is a great skill to have, and like I said, I don't think I'm selling anything that I wouldn't want to be selling. I'm lucky to be selling Delaware, which I really believe in, but I'm selling. And I've got to have sales skills.
Give me an example. Like suppose I had the karate championships at Delaware.
Right.
And I'm looking, where am I going to be? The first thing I would do is try to get a hold of you.
Yeah, whether you get a hold of me or I find you, the first thing that we've got to do is qualify this event for Delaware. Because ultimately,
time-wise,
we've got to, do we have the facility to handle this? Is this event at a time when we need it? I think Dr. Axe mentioned University of Delaware graduation weekend. There's no hotel rooms that weekend.
I know, I went to that.
So we're trying to bring an event there. We're not going to bring an event to the beach in July.
Right.
Because there's no, so you have to know, can we handle, is the facility available? Is it the right time of year? And then
would you talk me into changing my time? Would I, if I said, look,
absolutely.
I don't have to be in December. I can be in January or February, but I really like it in the middle of January.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to try to. If we can get your event and we can do it at a time that makes sense for Delaware, it's going to benefit you too because now your participants,
oh, sure.
They're not going to have to fight for hotel rooms.
Now you said something about being able to offer some stuff. What do you offer?
Well, we can offer.
And do you offer it usually, or is it something you keep in your briefcase until the end?
I guess it's the interesting thing, and I don't want to sound like I'm taking the easy way out. Is every event is different. Every sporting event is different, so
but your checklist is the same.
It is, but you really have to figure out what's important to the event. Is it hotel rooms? Is it getting the facility at a discounted rate? Is it do they want funding? Are they looking for funding?
So do you have to have an in with all the hotels and restaurants?
We have to have a great relationship, actually,
because you can offer a deal.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got 10 5,000 people.
The hotels, they understand that this is what we're doing. We're out at trade shows, we're doing research, we're finding the right events. So
You're helping them.
by the time I come to them and we say, we think this is a quality event for Delaware, can you work with us? They'll work with us. You know, they understand that.
It's good for both of us.
TGI
Win-win.
Friday's #1 weekend of the year is the Beast of the East.
Great
David,
event.
Give us an example of some of the venues that you've handled and the success rate, and by all means tell us the ones that keep coming, because that's the important thing. They're going to come one year and come back.
Right. And you know, you want it to be an annual event. You want to get that date
Absolutely.
on the calendar.
Absolutely.
You know, one event that we just brought back, and it's kind of an interesting case because you can only bid on this event every 3 years.
Really?
It's at the University of Delaware. It's the American Collegiate Hockey Association, the club hockey. So a few years back, we hosted the Division I National Championship for the men. We recently bid on 2014 for the men and the women, and we won them both.
Okay.
So next March, we're going to have those events here. So we wrote the bid for that. We worked at the University of Delaware to complete that bid. We're working to plan the event because we don't run events. We let the experts do that. The University of Delaware, they got a great staff that runs the rink.
Let's start. We're going to be going to a break here shortly, but when we come back in the next, let's walk down that process, because I think by using that as an example, it may let others out there understand how they should be prepared to be able to engage your services, because it isn't like they can just hand it off to you and let you do the work. That's not what the way it's coming across so far is that well, just let us know and we'll help you out. Well, it sounds as if you've done so much that what should someone bring to you to have ready to talk seriously? Because we did talk off camera. The key to David's work is having all the right people in the room sometime. Now, it'd be nice to have them at the same time, but they need to be there sometime.
Right.
Fair?
David,
Absolutely.
what's the smallest event? Like, for example, why I'm getting into the smallest event, because I think we talked about this briefly before. A lot of times you have unqualified people that run an organization, like Naaman's Little League. You know, you got a guy or a gal who's never handled $50,000, and that's what they have. They don't know how to handle stuff like this, but they know they have to have an awards dinner or whatever. Mm-hmm. What's the smallest event that you can handle, or that you want to handle?
Well, we want to see hotel room nights. That's why we really look at regional, national, international.
And that's how you get your report card.
Yeah, that's how we're graded. We want to drive out-of-staters into Delaware, so we don't want people necessarily coming from Rehoboth and staying in Wilmington. That's great, but we want people from New York. We want people from California. So we want out-of-state room nights, and with the room night number, and with a formula that we have that is industry tested, we can get an economic impact number. So we can get a dollar amount that is going to be brought into the state by bringing this event to Delaware. So when you ask how small, it's a tough question to ask, because any room nights from out of state are a good one. But I think not only unqualified for your Naaman's Little League, it's one word to use, but the thing is,
and I'm not saying they are. I mean,
it's an example. But the president, even if they are, when they are qualified, they've got a full-time job.
Exactly.
So they can't do everything.
Would you-
Absolutely, we can help them in a number of ways, from the marketing and promotion side to negotiating with all the hotels and sharing some of the things that we've found to be really successful, so that when people come to this event, they're going to have a blast and they're going to want to come back.
We're going to go to the break, but the big three are food, lodging, and transportation. And on that note, we're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back and talk with David Arthur from the Sports Commission about what he does to make people want to come to Delaware for their events.
I will keep dancing on point, even if it hurts.
My arm is killing me. I don't know if I can pitch another ball. But I'll just play through the pain anyway.
I have to do the big stunts. To look better than the other cheerleaders. Our tosses are bigger.
My elbow really aches, but I've got to keep practicing.
Don't tell them it hurts. It'll take you out of the game if you do. I have to push harder if I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm feeling dizzy, but I don't want to tell anyone.
Everyone's counting on me. I can't rest now.
Nearly 50% of all sports injuries sustained by middle and high school students are from overuse. Don't play through the pain. See your healthcare provider and follow their instructions for rest and recovery. Take the pledge. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit stopsportsinjuries.org.
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. We're here with David Arthur from the Sports Commission, Delaware Sports Commission. And when we went to break, we were talking about some of the events that you guys are doing. And recently, I hear that you guys are setting up the ice hockey at the University of Delaware. Can you tell us how that process went?
Right, and we've got some other great events, which I'd love to mention at some point. Yeah, so we work with the University of Delaware, great partner of ours.
Who do you work with there?
In this particular case, we're working with the with Jim Caden, who runs the ice arena, and with the club sports department.
Okay.
And we are...
I didn't realize that was a big deal, club sports, because wrestling is a club sport. They have a lot of club sports in Delaware.
And the attractive thing about club sports in Delaware, you're talking about groups that they raise their own money. So the fact that so many of them can drive here, and no sales tax, better hotel rates, that's really, really attractive to them.
Oh, sure.
Well, how does that get bid?
Well,
be able to get it.
Some of them you have to hunt for. Some organizations are better about putting a request for proposal out there. So we've really got, we're scanning what requests for proposals are out, because when that comes out, you might only have a month to get the bid together.
Where do you find it?
You've got to be. We belong to a couple of memberships where they're listed. And you just have to have your pulse on a lot of these organizations.
So does the organization, the National Club Ice Hockey Organization, put it on that website, or does somebody from somewhere else put it on their website for which you then pay to be part of?
All the above. And some of them will give you a paragraph about what they're looking for, and some will give you a 30-page document. So they're really all different, and that's why you develop a relationship, you call them, you qualify them, and sometimes University of Delaware comes to us and they're wanting to bid on something, and sometimes whether it's an NCAA or an ACHA or a non college sport, we're coming to them.
ACHA
that's the college hockey, the club hockey.
American okay, got it. Club Hockey
American Collegiate Hockey Association. They're the club.
With all this legwork, I mean, how much of a team do you have?
Well, that's a great question. The Delaware Sports Commission, I'm the only full-time employee. We've got a great board of 30 people that are from the tourism and hospitality industry, government, media, sports facilities, sports organizations. So we've got a great board, and then we can utilize the resources of the Department of Tourism, which is in the Economic Development Office, because this really is an economic development organization.
You say you have an executive board.
We do.
What are the numbers of that? How many people serve on that?
We've got 30 on our board, and we've got 5 on our executive committee.
Now, the executive committee represents what part of the industry?
The whole gamut.
You have 5 people. So just take I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Right.
Who are they and what do they do?
We've got, for our executive committee currently, we've got our chairman, Matt Robinson, from the University of Delaware, and the past chair, Linda Parkowski, who's the Department of Tourism director. And Linda and Matt really started the Sports Commission a few years ago. They actually had a kickoff at Frawley Stadium in Wilmington. Our president is Martin Donovan, who runs the Little League World Series down in Delaware, which is an interesting fact because Delaware is home to 2 of 8 Little League World Series. So you talk about Little League International, which is probably one of the most reputable and popular youth sports organizations in the world. We've got 2 of 8 of their World Series in Delaware.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Softball and what else?
They're both softball, the big league softball and the senior league softball. And that's because of Martin and his crew down there, and we'll talk about that more. But that's 6 games on ESPN. We've got our Vice President, Cindy Small. She is the Department of, for Kent County Tourism, she's the Director. We've got our Secretary Mark Rossi from Dover Motorsports. Really does all the marketing for
Dover Downs.
And Firefly.
Who's your financial person?
Our treasurer is Jerry Dufilli from Event Allies.
Okay.
And so we've got a great group of people, and they give so much of their time, but they're all so passionate about it. It amazes me every time we've got a meeting.
Well, talk about, you wanted to, Joe brought it up, talk about some of the venues that you've gotten that you're really happy about.
We've got upcoming, and we've played a varying role in all these events, but I'd love to talk, just rattle off a few of them. The NCAA Women's Division I Basketball Championship, first and second round.
Big deal.
Huge deal. That's an NCAA championship. A lot of work goes into those events, so we're really trying to support UD and make it as easy as possible for them, because it's a lot of work on there.
And you want them to come back and spend their summer vacation here, and you want them to go shopping in our malls.
Absolutely. We want them to come to Delaware and see.
You mean you have tax-free shopping?
Yeah, and that's a selling point. We talk about selling Delaware. That's something that I say quite often. And there's some other things. So we've got that coming up. In June, we've got the Wilmington Grand Prix, which is a cycling race in downtown Wilmington, which is really neat. And actually,
formerly known as the Tour
de Pont. The same course there. And USA Cycling just expanded their calendar, and they created a tier system. And Wilmington Grand Prix, and this just got announced a couple days ago, was named to Tier 1. So there's only 10 Tier 1 USA Cycling criterium races in the country. Wilmington Grand Prix is one of them.
And the reason why we got that is because we successfully had the Tour du Pont here regularly. I actually had a very important role in this, Walter. You'd be impressed. I made sure that the athletes, after they participated in the race, urinated in the bottle, and it was properly containerized.
Did Lance
he was there. He absolutely was there.
Good job.
He was there when he was like 16 or 17. He had just come up from Austin, Texas. Yes. At that time, Greg LeMond was the big gun before he had the mitochondrial disease. But yes, so I was part of the whole processing of how to make sure that all these things that are blown up right now, I really understand how how they actually collect it. You have to be there collecting it. You have to put colored stuff into the toilets so that they can't dip it. There are an amazing amount of rules, but we're glad we passed.
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't gotten that job.
That's actually.
I'm sure I'll have it sooner or later.
So tell us a couple more events that you're really happy with.
Yeah, well, we've got the Little League World Series event, and that's in the lower part of the state in Roxana, Delaware, which is, that's huge, and that's again 6 games on ESPN, and going back to the NCAA event, that's 3 games on ESPN. And you got to remember, when they're coming back from commercial, they're showing things around Delaware. They're talking about tax-free shopping at the outlets, or the Christiana Mall, or the beaches. We've got BMX event coming to town in September.
So in Milford. We didn't know anything happened in Milford, but that does.
There's a lot going on down there. In fact, there's a great sports vibe in Kent County. They're working on a regional sports complex.
In Frederica.
In Kent County, that's going to be a great economic driver, and Kent County's they're really becoming a youth sports hub. So we've got one of the 32 USA BMX National Series events. Out of thousands of tracks, they picked Delaware for one of them. And USA BMX is now an Olympic sport, so we expect over 600 riders to come to Delaware from all over the country, and some from outside the country.
What events are you looking? What events are you looking at now that might be on the horizon?
Well, we're close to looking to finalizing a beach soccer event at the beach.
Yeah, beach volleyball is big, especially when the girls play it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we've been exploring is the opportunity to bring back events like the Slam Dunk to the Beach, which is a basketball event where LeBron James and a number of other NBA talented players came to. So it's something we're looking into and seeing it doesn't make sense for Delaware, and do we have the right partners to
It's amazing to know that you guys are out there, because I grew up in Delaware. I played sports in Delaware forever and never knew this was even there.
Yeah, how long have they had the sports commission, in all fairness?
A little over 3 years.
Okay, so it wasn't there.
It's new.
I may be the youngest, but I probably wasn't part of that.
You make a great point, and sports, it's big business, which is why you see sports commissions popping up everywhere. Even in the recession, people are cutting out all kinds of things. And they're cutting out their vacation and their dinners.
Sports and kids and pets.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry.
They're not cutting out their the vacation for Johnny's hockey tournament or Sarah's soccer tournament. They're going to make that happen. And a lot of people in Delaware are probably going all over.
But David, what's good about you is that I can see, beside the obvious, is that when you're dealing with an agent, it's always like a little unseemly.
Right.
But when I'm dealing with you, I mean, it's all positive for me because you're not bilking me for anything.
Right.
I mean, all you're doing is saying, look, I got this, 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 and this. You want it?
Right.
And I can do it for you.
Right.
And I'll help you. So that's kind of, you're in a good position.
And he's so energetic about it. He seems like he loves it. This is something that just drives him, and that helps the state.
So we were going to ask, and I think Mike was going to ask, and I'm going to let him do it, is Mike brought up participant hours for the Boys and Girls Club and for all
the street hours now, Walter, off the street.
Off the street hours. Well, I like participant hours because I thought it made a lot of sense, but off the street hours.
But participant hours applies to this, okay?
Yeah, right. So, Mike.
Well, the issues always come about is that when you have these sporting events, what resources do you need? Now, Dr. Strait and I sit on the Sports Medicine Advisory Committee for high school sports. So we're responsible for making sure with our committee that high school athletes are safe. Now, what I have found in many of the organizations, the volunteer fire companies, their EMTs, are always at the events in Georgetown. They have been wonderful about being there all the time and making sure that the people are available. Milford General is available for, they upgrade their status just like we do at Christiana Care. When we have the Beast of the East, we call in advance, tell them that the event is happening. Kent General is a resource for the Dover Downs race. So the medical sources are part of the whole scheme, hoping that we're going to be a little part, but the one that's viewed very carefully in the event something goes wrong. Well, there's a specific thing you were going with, Walter?
Yeah, there's a good question here. And I want to be a devil's advocate here.
Sure.
You've got different venues all across the state, the big state, okay? What kind of problems do you have where I'm saying down in lower Delaware, hey, wait a minute, I want that event.
Right.
David, why are you giving that event to the University of Delaware when it should go to Del State and we can do a good job here?
So the competition between areas to get an event.
Exactly.
And
he hasn't gotten there yet. I'll bet the answer to that, if there many people wanted him, he would love to have the problem.
Yeah, well,
it's a great problem to have. I mean, the thing is, we're not really giving them anywhere. We're gonna recommend or put them with the best possible facility. If we learn about an event,
do certain areas bid on? For example, will the University of Delaware bid against Del State or Cheney or?
That hasn't happened in my experience.
But it'll be a good thing.
It would, I guess it would be a great thing. But the thing is, they all have different needs, and you just have to know that, and you have to know when they want.
So you never have a conflict of interest?
I have not.
Here's what based off of population too. I mean, to bring something to Newark and it's a large facility, you're going to need a lot of rooms.
Right.
So you can't take that to a smaller area where there's not as many hotel rooms for the amount of people that are coming in from out of state.
I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, and we're going to go to a break and come back. We should have a convention center in Kent County.
Yes,
that can supply both Sussex and Newcastle. And it shouldn't be the University of Delaware being the holding party for all of the events. We didn't make it happen because there wasn't enough projected use of it. And I'd like to come back and see, how would you use a convention center? We're going to go to a break and come back right after this. We're here with David Arthur from the Delaware Sports Commission.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means providing a personalized educational experience where students learn anywhere at any time. Wilmington University provides a variety of ways to complete your degree. Choose the flexibility of online learning, or attend classes during the day, in the evening, or on weekends at locations throughout the region. It's your degree. Choose how you earn it. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University. What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding an innovative degree program that fits your goals and prepares you for a successful career. It means finding a school that fits your life. We know the importance of providing individual attention, affordable tuition, and unparalleled flexibility and service. Because at Wilmington University, it's not about meeting your expectations, it's about exceeding them. Personalized education, affordable tuition, that's the difference at Wilmington University.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports. We're talking to David Arthur, and really interesting discussion, and there's a lot of different things that are come up that Mike and Joe are going to bring up, and really interesting stuff. And David Arthur's been the executive director of Delaware Sports Commission for 3 years now.
I've been there about a year.
You've been there a year?
The commission has been there.
And he's the guy. So if you have any kind of event, especially if you're watching this on the internet in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you know about an event that's coming up, David Arthur is the guy to get a hold of. You on the internet, Dave?
Absolutely, and if you are in Iraq or Afghanistan, thank you, for all your service. Yes, DelawareSports.org. www.delawaresports.org is our website. We're also on Twitter at Delaware Sports, and please go on there. You can contact me if you're interested in bringing an event to Delaware. Give me a call and we can talk about how we can help you, because we want to make it easy for people like that, whether it's somebody local that wants to bring in a tournament, or a national governing body in Colorado Springs that wants to find a home for a tournament. We want to work with you, and we want to see if we can.
Is there an application form online?
We've got a qualification process, but it's more if they'll give us an RFP. Or if not, we'll
RFP.
A request for proposal.
Oh.
But if not, we'll I'm sorry.
That's okay. We all do the same thing.
You work around the state, you tend to
I hope you don't tear your ACL. We got it.
Now, David,
Me too.
You have to, you work for the state, so you're not going to bring in, an irreputable group or an irreputable tournament or whatever. So you're checking all these things out, and you meet with the head of them. And also you want to find out fiscal responsibility. You don't want them to duck on all the rooms. You want to check where they've been.
So why don't we let Joe take this one and just talk about the
we want to talk about the process.
Yeah.
That's what is out there. I mean, for someone who wants to go into this career, what's the process of how you go about bringing a place in, either if they look for you or you're looking for them, but from that start on, from the request for proposal, or if you go out and get it, how does it go?
Right, and it's a great question, and I mean qualifying. I know I used the word before, but it's so important because time is of the essence. So what we'll do is, whether we go out and find an event or an event comes to us, we're going to qualify it. Why is it looking for a new venue? Where was it before?
Yeah, did they not pay their bill?
Yeah, did they not pay their bill?
Right.
I'll call the hotels in the previous city. How did they back out of their rooms? If they said they were going to book 500 rooms, was it 500 rooms? Was it 200 rooms? How did they treat the facility? Did they follow through on their promises? Because if we're going to ask the hotels to work with us, and if we're going to ask these sports facilities to work with us, like a beautiful facility like Kirkwood Soccer, and they're going to come in and tear up their fields and not make good on it. Kirkwood Soccer doesn't want to work with us anymore. It's not a good thing for the state, and our hotel partners now have empty rooms, and we want heads in beds. That's a term we use a lot. We want to see people in hotel rooms. So we qualify it. So now we got past all that. Can we handle this event? What's the date? Is it flexible, like we talked about before? What are they looking for? Some are looking for help with the permitting and paperwork process.
Can you help them with airline fares and bus fares? Can you do anything with airline?
We've got great partners like Delaware Express. They're willing to work with us, and really any of the companies we reach out to, I just use them because they're the first one that came to my mind.
Well, let's stay on process,
go ahead.
That you have this. So now you've checked them out to make sure that they're a good cause, that they haven't reneged on their responsibilities.
Right.
You then ask them what they wanted.
Right.
So you're now going to go, well, you have facilities say, yes, we can offer that. Now tell us how you check out facilities.
Yeah, well, I like to visit the facilities. We're lucky because we have some great facilities here in Delaware. You want to talk dimensions, parking. Parking, okay? And how
do you handle facilities that don't have adequate parking?
We really leave it to them. We really don't interrupt their process. We don't particularly run events, and we've got great people that do. So we let them, do their thing, and we really kind of try to help in other ways.
Do you ever run into the situation where you have to tell someone this facility can't support what you want to do?
Yeah, you have to know what you have here in Delaware. You're doing everybody a disservice if you're, and you have to manage expectations, which is a big part of the whole deal. So, we don't want to bring an event that's going to be too big for a certain event or that's not the right fit. So, so we really want to avoid that at all possible because they're not going to come back next year. And we want people to leave, have a great time, and hopefully they're coming back for vacation or maybe they're coming for 3 days and then they're heading to the beach for the next 4. But, we want them to leave and then book their hotel for next year. So,
what's the biggest event you've handled?
In supporting the NCAA with this event at the University of Delaware in the next few months, that's the NCAA championship, especially basketball. I don't know if that's been in Delaware for some time.
What's the smallest event you've handled?
The smallest event, it's a tough question. We're working with a figure skating event for the Philadelphia area figure skating clubs. That's actually coming up in April. That doesn't have the room nights that the NCAA has.
Is there a minimum? When I come in with a tournament or an event, do I have to book a minimum number of rooms?
Absolutely.
For you to be interested?
I mean, we've got to think about the best use of the resources we have, but we're going to look into every event. And
if I'm using the University of Delaware, I'm paying.
Right.
Any event that I'm using, I'm paying.
Right.
So, am I limited? Do I have to support the restaurants and whatever because I'm paying for the university?
Right.
What's the question you're asking?
What's my
no, the expectation, Walter, so that they come. Let's go to the Beast of the East, which generates $1 million worth of revenue. That's what I thought he was going to go with. That's been his consistent good guy for the last
20 years.
At least 10 years.
Yeah,
TGI Friday supports it. They were one of our major sponsors. Certainly Reslate, the mat people, support it because we use their mats. But the food and the housing is a critical thing. The Diamond State Classic is another activity that you guys have gotten great rates.
Do they do that?
They do.
Oh, cool.
They help
Diamond
with
State
that as well.
Classic, great.
Yeah. They do a great job with the Diamond State Classic and the Beast of the East. And our level of support can vary. And because ultimately we want to help get these events going and get the right people in place, and then we want to kind of let them go on, and then we can start to pull in more events. So
for example, NASCAR is $1 billion enterprise.
Right.
You can't do anything for them because they're self-sufficient.
Right. Absolutely.
So you can't weasel your way in there, even though it's in Delaware, or can you?
There's things we can do to support them. If they came to us and thought that maybe there's
they're on your board.
Yeah, we've got them on our board.
There you go.
Mark Rossi. So we've got a great relationship. We're not going to get involved when there's already a great thing going, or if they're doing their job, because we want to be smart with our resources. But if there's things we can do to make their guests feel more welcome, especially their VIPs.
Now, we're working this backwards, though. What you really want to do is use their track for events that normally wouldn't be used. So maybe you have an amateur
or
whatever.
Don't forget, at Dover you got the casino. I was just thinking about Delaware Park as a venue, but they got the casino. The casino is always filled with cars. They do have some, extra
No,
parking.
I'm talking about actually using the track. See, you have facilities that are not being used. I mean, that's why U of D normally doesn't use their gym for the NCAA. They'd like to be playing in it. This year, we actually get the revenue from it.
Right.
You had a question, Joey?
Well, no, it goes to, we're talking about NASCAR. It's a professional sport, and I'm just guessing we've had the ladies golf championships at DuPont. We've had World Team Tennis actually at DuPont in different facilities. Are you guys involved with that?
Yeah, we're looking into all those things. We really are. We're researching, like I mentioned, the revival in some way of the tournament previously known as Slam Dunk to the Beach. We really just look at it and we say, can we do this the right way, and what's the benefit? Because we don't want to do it just to do it. We want to make sure it makes sense for Delaware and that it has a goal. And even with events that are existing, we want to create an environment where sports can succeed. We had a panel discussion at Dover Downs where we brought in somebody from the Flyers, somebody from a sports marketing group. We had somebody from Dover Downs. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of panel members. And we had, as a service to the people that run events in the state. So, and we're going to continue to explore those options. So things that can help the people on the Beast of the East board or on the Diamond State Classic board, because we want to just continue to, we've got a couple great events there. We want those to keep going, and we wanted to build off that.
Oh, I got 2 events for you I'm going to tell you about after the show.
I can't wait to hear about
that
it.
I think you might be interested in.
I can't
Well,
wait.
we were talking also about, Mike, you were going to bring up the what the responsibility is for an event. I mean, do I have to rent so many rooms?
Yeah, well, I know this to be true, that in order for the room rates to be reduced,
You have to rent so many.
you have to rent so many, and the point is the anticipation is to fill those. Obviously, the event planners would love it to be in 1 or 2 facilities because it's easier for transportation to the event, and if you can house the participants and their families across the street like you can at Delaware since they've added the new hotels, it certainly makes it a better venue for them to say, yes, we want to come. So the event planners are working with the Sports Commission, but the ultimate goal for the event planner is to make money as well, or not to lose money. So each of them have a charity cause. So for instance, the Beast of the East, they give it in scholarships to the athletes going on to college.
Right.
The Diamond State Classic does the same thing.
Right.
They give it to local schools for their kids that they name athletes, for which they then go on and use the money for books or the like.
Those kind of things are the things that I really like. What peeves me is when I see an event like a horse racing event, and here comes, the Cancer Society. That those money should go to the crippled jockeys and drivers. They should go to the horses, that are retired. They should do their own stuff. I mean, how many billions of dollars are going to invest in cancer before they find a cure?
The Horse Commission could absolutely, the horse people could do that, but they've not elected to do that on their behalf. So therefore, to get people to want to pay the extra $10 or $15 a ticket that goes to charity, they have to have a charity that they want to support. So if the horse people wanted to have an event for the horse people, then we would expect a huge participation by the horse people, and they would probably use the hotels nearby at Delaware Park instead of staying at the bungalows where the handlers stay in the back on the track.
David, other than just sporting events, do you do anything else related to sports in large groups?
Like card shows.
Like,
right.
Exactly, all that stuff, memorabilia stuff.
We'll definitely look at it, and
that's a big market.
I've got some great partners in the Department of Tourism. We've actually got somebody dedicated to meetings and conventions. Okay. So we've got Mr. Sports Medicine. If there was a chance to bring in a sports medicine conference, we would love that.
Yeah, that would be a goodie.
We would love that. If there was a sports collectible show, we might even partner on that. But yeah, if there's going to be people from out of state coming to Delaware, and they're staying over, we're going to look at it.
And is your job done once you set it up? Are you done?
No. We want it to be successful.
So you're looking
want it to come back, right? And we're not running the event, but we're doing whatever we can to help them make successful, to help them be successful within our power.
Will you ever step in when you think something's being handled wrong and you know?
Think about that. We're going to go to a break and come back right after this.
Right.
We're here with David Arthur from the Sports Commission, part of the Economic Development Office.
I know they never make me play with these guys, but why do they make me train like them?
Training hard is important, and for professional athletes, it's their job. But kids aren't professionals and shouldn't train at that level. Keep kids safe on the playing field and out of the operating room. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit StopSportsInjuries.org.
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. We're here with David Arthur, who is the with the Delaware Sports Commission. And when we went to break, we kind of were talking about other things other than sporting events that you're involved in. But tell us, what's that gray line where tourism takes over and you take over, and how do you cross over in between?
It can be a gray area. I mean, we're largely looking at these regional, national, international events where we've got people coming to play a game. But we're going to look at everything. There's a wide range of sports. There's orienteering. There's all kinds of ultimate frisbee, disc golf. We're going to look at all that stuff. But the line is gray. But we've got within the tourism office, more than likely somebody it's more their expertise.
David, if I wanted to set up a autograph session where I was able to bring in old Phillies and old Sixers and some
Which
people,
they do,
which happens everywhere. Would you guys be the people I would go to, or is this through tourism?
Yeah, you can definitely start with me, and I might
recommend who to go
absolutely,
to. Right?
Yeah, definitely. You can let me know, and we work so closely with the hotels. That's something we might just pass right to them.
And that's a feather in your cap too, right?
See, here's the thing that they look at, and it just came to me. You look at multi-day events.
Absolutely.
Because they have to stay the day before, and they have to stay the second day. Right. And many of the hotels, Walter, is a 3-day minimum.
Yep.
3-day minimum. 3-day minimum.
Especially weekends.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and that just made me think about our location. Because when I go to trade shows, which we do, we go to trade shows and we speed date with all these different governing bodies, from U.S. lacrosse and U.S. soccer to tournament companies that are for profit. We speed date and we learn about them and they learn about us, and if it makes sense, we'll follow up. But people love our location, and the fact we want them to come over and stay multiple nights and stay over. But the difference between us and a lot of locations is that they can drive home in a lot of cases, or we've got, depending on where they are, we've got 2 great international airports close by. So so we'll look at a single day event, because it's still bringing people in and they're still using our gas stations. But we want multi-day when we can.
Tell us real quick why they love Delaware, because I say this to everybody that's coming in from Jersey and stuff. It's a great place. I'm this close to here. I'm this close to there.
Right.
Is that what you see, or is it more
and
the shopping?
As a New Yorker, a native New Yorker, I feel like
just paying 8%.
Right. Oh yeah, man. I think I could talk about taxes and traffic, but the fact that I think it's over 10 million people within a 3-4 hour drive. So that's a great critical mass. And all those people, they can drive here for an event, and a lot of events are weekend events and they end Sunday afternoon. So instead of being somewhere and having to then drive to the airport, hope your flight's on time, fly home, get home by midnight, and you might have work or school in the morning.
Well, we have a great train schedule too.
We've got Amtrak.
Amtrak, great.
Which is a great partner, and they're great to work with. So the location is key. Whether they're flying in or driving in, it just really makes sense for people, and they love the fact that we have no sales tax.
What resource is missing in Delaware? In other words, what don't we have that would make your life easier?
Convention center.
The more facilities would make my job easier, and you could play that game, but yet you work with what you have, because we have a lot of good things. The one thing that's always a challenge is dollars. And to bring an event in, it costs money. You need a budget. And a lot of times, because you have these volunteer-run organizations, the person handling sponsorship, they may not have that experience, and they may, even if they do, not have time. So just for our corporate partners to really look at certain events and consider being a sponsor, which you get a lot out of sports sponsorships. That's a resource that there's a lot of
Are you responsible for the sponsorships?
We can help people. We can kind of put them in the right position. It's very rare that we would actually make the sale. We really try to.
Another one of those people in the room.
Well, right. Yeah. And if people that have come to say, the Delaware Sports Commission believes in this event, let's look at this, guys, because they've qualified this.
Let me give you a for instance, okay? Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things in horse racing is the Breeders' Cup. Okay, the Breeders' Cup has been to a track in Texas, which never should have been there. They've been to Gulfstream, and they've been to a couple of tracks they shouldn't have been. They were going to move it around, but they didn't do that because of the international flavor. I think Delaware is a great venue. The track's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I think the parking is, you're talking about multi-million-dollar event.
Yeah.
Sell me on it. I'm going to Santa Anita 2 years in a row, then I'm coming to Belmont. Those 2 venues seem to be the best ones.
Right.
Okay? Sell me on Delaware. What are you going to do for me?
Well, it kind of depends what they want.
And that's a 2-day event.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're going to take a hard look at it because of what it is. We want,
I mean, you don't know. I'm the one.
We have to move on, Walter.
Right.
Let him answer.
Yeah, no, I want you to come here. Before I really sell you, I want to make sure we've got the right facility, which it sounds like we do, that they're available, which I'd imagine they would be for something like this.
Yeah.
And then we have to really look at what they want. Every event is different. Some want some comp room nights. Some need help with the permitting process. Some, want to know about our hotel rates. They need their hotel rates to be. It's really, it's not me selling them. I can tell them all the great things about Delaware and our location.
Well, don't
and
forget you're
sales
cheaper,
tax.
because if I'm going to California, it's expensive. If I'm going to
Oh, yeah,
Belmont,
that's
New
a
York's
no-brainer.
expensive. So you're more. But
So-
what
so
can you
you-
give me? You were talking about you can give certain things.
No,
What
they
can you
really
give me?
can't. No, they put the people in the room, Walter,
Yeah.
that would be sponsoring the race and being involved in it.
But he said
His
there
jo-
was a certain
Well,
thing.
well, we can help. We can explore and see if there's any grants that work for them. But
Grants, right.
That's very.
They're not going to give
happen
grants
very
to
often.
horse racing. They're
And-
going to give grants to youth sports.
yes.
I mean,
and who
if-
offers those grants?
Any number of people. There's some state tourism dollars that are earmarked for those types of things. There are, corporate sponsors that
Has
have
Governor
grants.
Markell met with you?
Yes, absolutely. He's
What
a
did
big
he
supporter of the
ask?
sports
What did
commission.
he ask you in that meeting?
Well, first of all, Governor Markell is a great ping pong player.
Yes,
so
he
I
is.
haven't had the
So
chance
am I.
to play him yet.
Oh, I like to play him.
But he's pretty good, and we've looked at some ping pong stuff. But
That's a big deal in New York now.
yeah, I mean, it's something that we've looked at hard. A ping pong tournament. It might
Sure.
sound funny to some.
No.
Or table tennis. I should say table tennis.
Table tennis, right.
He did correct me on that. But, he wants to know what type of events are coming here, what we're doing. He holds everybody in the government and the economic development office to a very high level, and we report weekly on the things we're working on, and he wants people in hotel rooms, and he wants jobs from the economic development office. So he just wants to know what are we working on, what's coming, and I know he'd love to see a ping pong,
Table
tennis event. So that's
Or
one
pool.
thing.
Or pool, same thing. Big
Yeah,
deals.
absolutely. We've looked at some
Yeah,
pool stuff.
I bet.
I mean, I know. I actually played in the pool national championships, and they're all in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
right.
drag
'Cause
you
you can
out there.
bet on
It's
'em.
well,
Right.
and there's a lot of the gambling involved and things, but it was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those hotels were full for a pool national championship for 5-6 days.
Yeah, I mean, we really look at the traditional sports, but you look at things like billiards, like table tennis, like horseshoe pitching. It's like a 9-day tournament. Disc golf. You have to look at them all, and there's a lot out there. And you have to say, hey, can we handle this? And in some cases,
Well, Governor Markell was the first one that said, hey, let's bet on sports, and they got all over him on that. But poker championship.
Took away our ability to have playoffs.
Yeah, well, what about the poker championships when they got 10,000 people investing $10,000, and it's a 5-day event, and they all come from all over the world? I mean, what a great event to have at Delaware Park.
Yeah, we'd absolutely look at it. Yeah, we would absolutely.
So let's
look at
go ahead.
What I think is excellent about the sports commission is that, and the parents out there, you're telling me that it's from soup to nuts, from the little kids, from little league championships, regional tournaments, things like that, through high school and college, as well as bringing in federation teams, and then you're all the way up to professional levels. And I mean, it covers everything, and you're so involved in those things.
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that I didn't even know it was out there.
You're not the only one, but that's why it's great to be on this show and have the opportunity to tell people about it.
And you can listen to our website, www.youthinsports.com, to get to your website and also find out about what you do and how you do it. And there might be some people out there that want to get into it.
So we talked about the NCAAs, the first and second rounds of the women's tournament here in this region. What else do you have on the agenda, and where are there time frames that you're trying to get people to come?
Yeah, good.
Obviously,
What's
we
the
know.
time frame?
Yeah. You really-
What's open?
Great question. Typically, every market is different. So Wilmington downtown, different from Wilmington Riverfront. I'll give you a couple examples. Newark, Delaware in July and August. There's definitely some opportunity there. In fact, I believe I can mention this. There's going to be a triathlon coming to town in Newark this upcoming August, which would be great. So it'll be a new event. The beach is a great example. Like I said, they don't want events in the summer, but the winter, think about all those hotel rooms
Sure.
you have there.
Sure.
Kent County, you've got all those hotels for the NASCAR track. And, you've got those 2 big races each year. You've got the big Firefly, which had its first concert that, first year this past year. They'll be back next year, which is ultra successful. And outside of a couple other things, you're open. So you want to avoid your graduation weekends, your NASCAR weekends, and your beach weekends. But those are some
and
areas.
your Beast of the East weekend.
And you look at Wilmington, and Beast of the East. You look at the city of Wilmington. A lot of those hotels are full during the week, thanks to Delaware's business-friendly environment. But on the weekends, that's a different story. There's opportunity there.
Mike brought this up earlier. What's the one thing, if you could ask for, what would you need to do your job better, or to be more efficient?
A raise.
We could use probably a bigger staff maybe, because there's a lot of people that want to know about Delaware. But I go back to
Convention center. Do you need it or not? Do you think that it would? Do you think it could be fiscally responsible? That it would be booked enough to pay the bills?
Where would it be, Mike?
It would have to be in the middle state.
That's a tough question to ask. I don't know. I know that different people throughout the state have looked at it. I can say, the more facilities that I have to work with,
the better.
The better.
Hey, if Steve Taylor didn't have a dream and fight through the legislature, Blue Rock Stadium would not be there, okay?
Right.
And it has been a very beneficial place. The high school kids love playing there.
Oh, yeah.
The college kids, Delaware versus Wilmington U, annual event at that particular stadium. The actual minor league teams themselves.
Loves it.
How much more could they use Blue Rock Stadium? How much more could you use it? And why aren't you using it more?
We could use it more. You have to find the right event.
What would be another event you could put there? Concerts?
You could put concerts. I know they've had concerts there in the past. I mean, you want to put, a lot of these events, they're looking for a lot out of the facility, so you need to make sure we need spectators. So we need to find the right events that bring spectators. Therefore, we're getting their concessions going so they can make up some of the money there that they might be losing for the facility and for the the beating that the field will take. That's why it's got to be the right event. Because if we bring an event there and they tear up that field,
things like American Legion Championships. Is that what you're looking for? Things that
we're looking at that.
Nature.
Absolutely. There's some USA youth baseball. Excuse me. Even the CACC.
Right.
They have their big tournament there, which Wilmington plays.
We only have 30 seconds left, David Arthur. Thank you for representing the Sports Commission. Walter, what did you learn tonight?
I learned about the Sports Commission, and I learned that there's a couple of events I'm going to give Dave, and I want to cut. I want the percent.
That's fine. Well, you always want an opportunity.
I just can't believe I missed it for the last 3 years. I didn't know it was there, and I'm glad to know about it.
Say goodbye, Joe.
I'll probably watch your events in Delaware.
We're heading out. Thanks for watching Youth in Sports.
Don't forget, www.youthinsports.com. You can see this show and every show before it. Good night.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding your relevance in the job market. That's why we offer career-oriented degree programs that meet employment needs in emerging fields. Dedicated professors bring their real-world experience into the classroom so you'll graduate with the tools you need to succeed on the job. It's your degree. Make it relevant to your career. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University.
This show was sponsored by ATI, the company taking physical therapy to a higher level throughout the country. First State Orthopedics, where Youth in Sports hosts Drs. Straight and Axe are members of the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And President Jack Barcelona and his Wilmington University College of Technology, where each semester this student-run program is produced, directed, edited, and distributed under the guidance of the TV production faculty. Each guest receives a copy of the show, and all shows are available on the web at youthinsports.com.